Right, in this video, what to do about strange electrical faults on your car. So what do I mean by strange electrical faults? For example, on this Honda, a couple of weeks ago I went to check all my lights because I'm having a vehicle test and then a vehicle inspection, and I noticed when I went to switch on the main driving lights, they weren't coming on. I mean, when I say they, I mean they. Both this light and this light wasn't coming on. I thought, that's odd. The little parking light was on, but the main driving light was not on. And I wondered to myself, what could it be? So the first thing came to my mind was it could be the relays. So on this Honda Civic, it's a very difficult task to get to the relay. It's way underneath the steering wheel, just to the right, way back. There's a bank of them. You have to take off the fuse box under there as well, and that will give you access to the nuts and bolts that can release the bank of relays, including the relay to do with the front lights. That's a lot of work. Now, I was trying to put it off not to do it and find other ways of fixing it. So this is what this video is about. What's the first step? What would be the first step? And I forgot the first step of electrical faults. First step of electrical fault finding isn't to go dashing to replace parts, because it's the most obvious. The most obvious thing would have been the relay that dealt with the passing on of electricity to the front lights. No, that's not the first step. The first step of fault finding, especially in old cars like this, is actually to look for, and this is a secret, to look for things that have already have already stopped working. For example, on this car, for definite, I had about 3 light bulbs out. So I think I had nothing on this side. I had one brake light out here, one brake light out here, and I think, if I remember rightly, the light leading to the registration plate below was also faulty. It was getting on faulty. So the first step, and this is a great tip of fixing strange electrical faults, is to fix all the things that you can fix, that you know that is broken or have blown. And the most easiest thing to find, the most common thing, is the light bulbs. If a light bulb goes here, if a light bulb goes here, that's going to cause other electrical faults. You say to yourself, how can that be? How can that be? How can 2 blown bulbs here stop the lights from coming on out over here? Okay, I'll have to kind of explain. Now, when I say, especially for old cars, it can affect moderately old cars as well, not too old a car. What do I mean by that? And what's the key thing? The key things is, as cars age, the earthing points start to rust, and when they start to rust, the flow of electricity back into the body of the car and back into the battery is kind of distorted, or kind of halted, or is kind of diverted. And the key word is diverted. Before I go into that, let's look for other key points where electricity is earthed back into the car. There's usually one under here. On my Ford, it's definitely here. There's one here. Usually there's one just above the gearbox. It attaches from the gearbox onto the right hand side, or the left hand side of the chassis. So some key points where electricity goes back, and when it goes a little bit rusty, when it's a little bit old, things don't flow properly. And how can that affect your questions? How can that affect the lights? Well, simply be, if you remember back to your days of taking a science class or a physics class, if you ever did, just what did this teacher always compare electricity to? One of the analogies that the teacher of science would compare electricity, the flow of electricity, to. Can you remember? Right, okay, if you can't, the answer is water. Okay, the flow of electricity is analogous to the flow of water. So what it means is, if, now here's the key point, if you've got a blown bulb or a few blown bulbs, that means electricity is not passing through that component, okay, as it should be. As you turn it on, it should be passing through there, through one, lighting up the filaments, passing out, and away it goes. That's, if you make that analogous to the flow of water, it'll be like a pipe. Flow of water goes in, comes out, away it goes. Now if you've got a blown unit, it means, now the key word I said was diverted. I'm coming back to that word now. The electricity will come in, it'll have to, it's got nowhere to go. It's got nowhere to go. This is blown, it's not going to flow. In fact, that whole component's not flowing. So if we looked at the cable before that, instead of electricity, as you switch everything on, going half, say half this way and half that way, everything's going that way now, because you can't flow through here. So if everything's going that way, there's too much flow going through that way, or too much, analogously said, water. So it's too much going that way, and what could happen is you can cause a kind of a blowback from the water, if you make it analogous to water, or blowback from the electricity. So you would have a build up of voltage that you shouldn't be. There should be a lower voltage here, whereas it should have been shared out between here and here. So it'll be a higher voltage here, and that would cause some other component which wants to flow, which wants to have its flow of electricity going right back into the earthing point, cannot, because you've got opposing things happening there. You want electricity flowing this way as well, where it should have been a little bit this way, a little bit this way, and both of them going into the earthing point. So that's the key thing. So the first point of fixing difficult to understand or difficult to reason out electrical faults isn't to go pulling out parts, isn't even to go out pulling out fuses, okay? It is not. The first thing to do is to look around your car and look for obvious things that have blown. For example, light bulbs. If light bulbs are blown, fix all the light bulbs and then have a look at it. So that's the first part, in my opinion, of fault finding in difficult to find electrical faults. Thanks for watching, and in the future, if we get some more electrical faults and it goes beyond this part 1, we'll have a part 2. We'll talk about that then, and it could involve things like pulling up fuses, the relays, etc. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Frustrating thing, electrical faults. Good luck, and leave a comment below if you're getting stuck. I'll always try and get back